in here that are going to be a help. There is the Unit 2 test prep. That's not going to be due for a week, but you can do it at your leisure. It's just 5 questions. That AP testing info and schedule is right here. If you just click this, you get this whole schedule. So please show that to your parents. I was going to send this, would it be a help if I sent this home in an email to everyone so that they could show their parents? I want to make sure that everyone knows the dates and the deadlines and the costs and the opportunities to get a reduced rate on your test if you need it. So that's all this is. Change this. Okay. Oh, hang on. All right. Yeah, we really are approaching. Yeah, we're only missing 2. Okay, let's get to it. So what I was saying was there are a couple things in the module that are just going to be helpful and references. Look, there's Rory.
When I tried to click on the Unit 2 test prep, it didn't let me open it.
That's interesting. Hang on. Work hard. So you should be able to, for the test prep, you should be able to just click on this. It's going to open, and it's the test prep questions are right here. You just click the, that's no good.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Okay, let me work on that right after class. I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm sorry, I didn't test it. It's obviously that the link, I mean, here I can give you, let's do this. Yeah, I can do this right now. Sorry about this. Hang on, let me just stop sharing for a moment while I look through my emails to get the right link. Okay, not that one. Nathan, yes. Hang on, here we go. Oh, look, somebody else has arrived. I knew I was doing this for a reason. Hang on. Oh, look. Okay. Yay. I think we got a full house. Welcome, welcome. I'm just going over some things. This should be a link that works for the test prep. I will make sure that the link in the module actually works. I apologize for that. I was assembling it right before class and I did not double test it, and that was bad on my part. Okay, so what I was going over are a couple different things. One, make sure that you signed up for your AP account. I think I only have 2 people left that haven't signed up. So congratulations, everyone. This will be the active link for the test prep. That is in the chat right now. That link works. This one doesn't. There is the AP testing info and schedule. If you can, forward this to your parents. If you want, I can email it to us. But this just has a bunch of dates and payment information and late registration and stuff that your parents should know about. You should know about too. And so this is just good information for you to be up to date on what's going on, okay, in terms of the AP test itself. I think everyone is registered for the test, and you just need to, as you as we get closer to it, you can decide whether or not you feel that this is something you want to do. There is no penalty this year for canceling your test reservation. I think there used to be. So that's why everyone is signed up. And you just need to decide once it gets closer, do you feel prepared or not? If you can, I advise taking the test because it's a great experience. And who knows, you can get a 3, you can get a 4, and you could get some college credit. And it really comes in handy in weird ways. I was able to skip the 3 days between Thanksgiving vacation and Christmas vacation in college because I was able to use my AP credit in biology to pass out of cell biology. And that's the only way I could do it because you were going to fail your course if you missed any of those days. All right, let's get back into what we're doing today. So warm up. Anybody want to in the chat or unmute yourself?
You lagged.
Give me an idea which, I guess I'm not, which is really scary because then I end up having to run to another room, but it doesn't work well. Is this better? Am I lagging still?
No, you're fine now.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep not presenting and go through the warm up so that I can look at it because my version tells you the answers. Okay. Which of the following protocols are at the same level on the internet? TCP and HTTP, HTTP and IP, HTTP and DNS, HTML and DNS. Anybody want to put?
HTTP and DNS.
Brilliant, Emily. You are correct. HTTP and DNS are on the same level. Remember that crazy chart. We're going to look at it again. HTTP and DNS are on the same level at the top of that chart. Okay, what does DNS stand for? We hope we have the right terms this time.
Domain names.
Correct.
Domain name server. Oh,
No.
system.
Domain name system. Luckily, phew, you pulled up out of that one right at the last moment. So DNS is the domain name system. That is what attaches a IP address to a domain name, right? You put in code.org, it straps 978.14.976.25 to it. Which protocol uses the GET protocol? IP, TCP, or DNS?
DNS.
Yay, good job, Bora. DNS, correct. What else is used with a GET protocol? What's the other half? How do you send a GET protocol?
HTTP.
Correct. HTTP. I love the idea that HTTP means get in binary. That is how you send the GET request. DNS takes the GET request and does what you're asking for. Okay? Great job. All right, we're rocking. All right, let me go backwards and get into our presentation and we will look at what we have to do today. Let me go full screen and then try and share. Oh, look, it's going to work. All right. It's a big agenda today. So we have our warm up in Canvas that we've been over. U2, L7, and 8 internet dilemmas is what we're going to be working on today and next Monday. Okay, this was a 2-day affair. Due today is, or tomorrow, the warm up. U2, L6 today and U2, L7, and 8 tomorrow. So the worksheet that we did for U2, L6, that's all due today. I believe everybody already did that all with Nearpod, et cetera. If you still have something or there were a couple people that strangely had no participation in the Nearpod. I had a couple people have to submit through the regular portal. The idea is you just got to go back through the presentation, copy down the questions, and answer the questions on a Google form. So we have a Unit 2 test. It's going to be 10/29 next Monday. Here is the review. You can get the review out of here. The review link is in there, and I'm going to put a better link in my module. The goal objective for today is that you will be able to evaluate the ways computing impacts personal, ethical, social, economic, and cultural practices. Explain the beneficial and harmful effects that intellectual property laws can have on innovation. Evaluate the social and economic implications of privacy in the context of safety, law, or ethics. Evaluate the impact of equity, access, and influence on the distribution of computing resources in a global society, debate and use of software. That has got to be our biggest goal objective yet to date. Uh-oh, now it's saying my connection's unstable. So watch this. We pull our hard line. Am I lagging? Is this okay?
You're fine now.
Okay, all right, I'm doing my best to stay on board. What do you think we're going to be working on that has this much description? We're talking about personal, ethical, social, economic, and cultural practices, explain beneficial and harmful effects, intellectual property laws, innovation, evaluate the social and economic implications of privacy in the context. What do you think all this is? What are we going to be doing today? I'll give you a hint. It's under U2, L7, and 8 on that card.
Internet dilemmas.
We are going to be looking at internet dilemmas. What is a dilemma? Can anyone tell me what a dilemma is? It doesn't have to be exact, just what's the difference between sort of a problem and a dilemma?
Like a dilemma is like a choice between like two things.
Right. A dilemma is a choice between two things, and you can't, there are good and bad things to either choice, and you just can't figure out which one is the right choice. You have a dilemma. Do I get married or do I go to Fiji and become a surf instructor? That's my dilemma. It's a choice that you need to make, but it's difficult to decide which one is right. So it's a dilemma. It's tearing you apart. So let's get into this. Can anyone think of, well, first off, we're going to review this procedure. So going back to last class, the idea of DNS, HTTP are on that top level, how electrons, bits and bytes, move across the layers of the internet. This is going to be a concept you're going to need to be able to describe in the AP test, but also for our project today. So think about this. I'm going to work from right to left on this. So somebody is sending us a message. The incoming bits go through the physical wires of the internet, go through the, it hands off, so the physical internet receives the bits and assembles them into packets. The IP reads and groups the packets based on the from address, okay? TCP puts the packets in order and reassembles the message, okay? Then TCP hands off to DNS. DNS reads and handles the DNS response. I'm not quite sure about that step. what is DNS doing with an incoming message? Does anyone know what DNS is doing with an incoming message? This is something I'm going to have to look into it, and I'll come up with an answer for tomorrow. Because as far as I understand, DNS is solely putting IP addresses together with web addresses, right? So what's it doing when we're receiving a message? It says it reads and handles the DNS response. So I'm guessing that it interprets the incoming IP address. So once I've read my message and I'm sending my message back to my friends, I am sending to a person, which is the same thing as sending to a website. So it needs to get their IP address on that. It hands off to TCP. TCP breaks it into numbered packets to and from. IP attaches to, actually the TCP does not do to and from. IP attaches to and from addresses to each packet, and then it sends it off to the local router where the outgoing bits are going to find their destination. Okay, does that all make sense to everyone? You can always look at that sheet that breaks it all down, that worksheet that we had. That is a real help for understanding this. I think everyone has a basic grasp of this, but just come back to this when you're trying to describe the systems of how the different layers are connected, all right? So Unit 2, Lesson 7 and 8, Internet Dilemma Project. Today, you are going to pretend that you are the chief technology advisor for a candidate running for elected office. Your candidate is relying on you to help inform her about important technological dilemmas and come up with good policy ideas to address them. For this project, you'll investigate a social dilemma related to the internet and prepare a report summarizing your findings and making a policy recommendation for your candidate. Let's look at 3 different dilemmas: net neutrality, internet censorship, and the digital divide. So these are 3 big, broad categories of internet issues that we have been struggling with as a nation. So in the previous administration, net neutrality was the rule. In the current administration, they have tried to go away from net neutrality. Internet censorship. Internet censorship is playing a big role in our elections. What is Facebook censoring? What is Twitter censoring? They are, in theory, trying to take fake news and salacious postings down so that you can trust the information that you're getting off the internet. And the digital divide. Can anyone tell me what the digital divide is? The digital divide is a concept you are going to have to be able to describe for your AP test. It's pretty straightforward. What's the problem with the internet? What's the problem for America of the internet being such a key ingredient to your education, your ability to access information, and your ability to leverage that information to make money, be successful?
People who don't have access to internet have like a
People-
disadvantage.
Yes, that there is a divide, that being on the internet typically takes some resources. You need to have some kind of device that can get on the internet. You need a phone, you need a computer. Those things cost money. You need service. You need, that costs money. Usually Comcast, everybody, it's $30, $40 a month just to have your internet service. So there's a lot of this country that cannot afford or is very rural and does not have access because there are no phone lines or there's no internet infrastructure in these places. They have to use satellite internet. My family has a farm in Virginia. We have to use satellite to get internet at our farm, and that's expensive. It also doesn't work that well. You do not have blazing speeds on satellite. So those are our 3 topics. All right. The project guide is this. So we're going to go through each of the 3 dilemmas. So we've done our background. You're going to be the chief technology advisor. And what you need to be doing today is, first, we're going to find which one of these 3 appeals to you. Then we are going to go through and you are going to read your piece. You're going to look at the resources down at the bottom. You're also going to look at this series of, it's a word bank of words that code.org wants you to be using as you write up your presentation. These are things like the layers of the internet, HTTP and DNS. We'll get to that. All right, so our big options, what you're going to be choosing in a minute is, do you want to make your position on net neutrality, internet censorship, or the digital divide? Okay, when we were talking about internet censorship in the elections, I think this was something that we had meetings about yesterday as teachers. We're coming up to a big election, and like the last election, it is bound to be very emotional for a lot of people. Whether your candidate wins or loses, we need to hold together as a class, as a school, as a team. I want everyone in the coming week to try and ratchet down, the intensity of your conversations about the presidential debate. And when the elections happen, I want everyone to try and be civil and understand, try and make an effort to understand where other people are coming from. Try and put yourself in their shoes. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone comes from a different background. This is part of the beauty of what makes America, what makes for great creative teams, is diversity and different opinions. So we need to respect each other through the coming election. All right, enough of that. Let's get into what net neutrality is. Background: internet users love services like streaming movies, video chatting, and online gaming, all part of the UDP protocol. All of this content needs to travel over the internet. However, and companies that build and maintain networks are complaining about the increased demands being placed on their networks by these services. Your candidate is hearing more and more about a debate called net neutrality and would like a more informed opinion as part of her platform. Okay, so that is net neutrality. Net neutrality is the idea that whether you are your grandmother sending an email or Netflix streaming 16 million videos, you all get charged the same amount, or you all have the same access and speed over the internet. It's first come, first serve. Everything goes out at the same speed. Everything goes out at the same pace. A lot of people, particularly the ISPs, the independent service providers, feel that this is unfair because grandmothers are not sending a lot of information and people like Netflix are sending a lot of information. Okay, so hang on, we've got something in the chat. Some people's opinions are racist, so I'm not going to respect them. Guys, some people's, let's put it this way. I will say opinions are like your bottom. Everyone has one, but not everyone wants to hear it. You've got to let people be themselves. If people say things that are offensive to you, you can take offense and you can find proper ways to try and educate them. But you have got to respect people's ability to make their own choices. People make the worst choices all day long. You can't fault our human nature. It's just a part of who we are as Homo sapiens. Okay? So again, let's try and keep politics out of class. But it's going to be a very interesting week. So internet censorship, background. While the internet is used to share many useful services and information, there are growing concerns about the way the internet can be used to spread damaging information, ranging from national secrets to calls for violence. Censoring this information may provide some people with increased security, but potentially risks free speech and the safety of social and political activists. Your candidate would like to have a policy that balances these two concerns in a way that makes sense for our digital age. So what are they balancing? Okay. What does this candidate need to have a position on? It says they need to balance these two concerns in a way that makes sense for our digital age. What two concerns are we talking about? The first one's pretty straightforward. The president loved to talk about what ideally is censorship by Twitter, Facebook, whatever doing. What is the thesis of having companies censor the internet that we're talking about here? What are they trying to remove? Dennis, go ahead.
They're trying to like remove like inappropriate things, maybe racist things or sexist or something against like prejudice ideas or
Okay.
stuff that shouldn't be on the internet.
Right. And that's not totally what it is. Ideally, it's fake news. That, it's misinformation. Information that is damaging or can hurt people is being taken down. But exactly what Dennis said is where things start to get gray. When you say that someone is saying something racist and they feel it may not be, or you're saying something that other people feel is offensive, but you don't feel is offensive, this is where we get into this issue of freedom of speech. One of the foundations of our country and our Constitution is that we are guaranteed freedom of speech. Then there is this caveat that yes, you have freedom of speech, but you cannot threaten someone. You can't, damage someone with your speech with impunity. So these are the two concerns that we're trying to grapple with. The idea that some people feel that people having unlimited freedom on the internet to say whatever they want is causing them security concerns. And the people who want to say anything they want are saying they're losing their freedom of speech rights when they are being censored for what is being said to be inappropriate content. And what they're arguing is that they don't feel their content is inappropriate. And so that is where we need to draw that line. What is appropriate? What is inappropriate? How do we define that? How do we protect our rights for free speech while protecting people from persecution, racist comments, sexist comments, ridicule, those kinds of things? So as you can tell, these are not black and white issues. These issues are dilemmas. They are difficult to grapple with because there are good points on both sides. The digital divide, our last topic. While technology is increasingly integrated into daily life, there are still many who lack access to the internet or digital technology. In rural areas, there are challenges building networks to connect geographically sparse populations. But even in cities, some groups or areas have relatively less access to the internet or knowledge of how to use it. Your candidate is worried that while technology is bringing social and economic benefits to many, there are others being left behind. Okay? Does everyone get the basic concepts behind our 3 dilemmas? All right? So you're going to have 3 minutes right now to think about and choose. Does everyone have their, I'm going to escape for a moment. It's not where I want to be. I just want to make sure that everyone has their, has everyone gone in and gotten their worksheet out of U2L7 Internet Dilemmas? If not, take a moment, go in, click the document button, and this is what you want. This is what you're going to be reading. Well, it's what I already read, but this has the core questions about these issues, list of impacted groups, and then some extra resources that you're going to be looking through to create your idea. So I just want you to have this before we go into our present, your 3 minutes of trying to figure this out. A question for the class. I have our new assignments at the bottom of this list. Would everybody like it if they were at the top of the list? That our module for the day would be right at the top so that when you went into it, it was right here?
Yes.
Does that make more sense?
Yes.
I apologize. This is just the way it populates and I didn't do it. And one of my other teachers goes, you can drag them up to the top so that they're on top. And I just wanted to make sure that made sense and that you know where to be looking. Okay? All right. So next class, our lesson will be up on top. All right. Now let's get back in here. All right. So you have 3 minutes right now to think about which topic you would like to do your presentation on. And you will end up having to present these to the class. So you're just deciding for yourself. You don't need to fill it in anywhere. Oh, actually, hang on. I'm sorry, I didn't go all the way through this. So first you're going to choose between net neutrality, internet censorship, and the digital divide. Then you're going to review the 1-pager and the rubric. That's all on that page I just told you to download. So this is the internet policy dilemma, internet dilemma policy 1-pager. This is going to be the final product of what you're doing. This is the rubric, and they really want you to make sure that you're including all these different elements in your answer. Okay?
We can't see what you're
Oh,
showing.
hang on. It's not presenting. That's what it is. I apologize. I don't know why it works some days and not others. So weird. Okay. Are we seeing the presentation full screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Do say something. So this is the 1-pager that I just told everyone to download. This is the rubric. All 3 sources are referenced, interests, benefits, harms, many technical details. So they also want you to review this concept bank, protocols and layers, physical internet, IP, TCP, UDP, HTTP, DNS, networks, fiber optic cable, copper wire, Wi-Fi, routers, connections, packets, routing, packeting, metadata, IP address. They want, code.org wants you to be using these terms as much as you can in your presentation for your candidate. So like when we were doing that article about Miley and Fortnite stealing the dances, as you're going through your chosen discipline, you want to be highlighting anything that is referring to the protocol layers, the networks, the packets and routing, the World Wide Web, internet principles. Those are things that are going to be really good to put in your position paper. Review your sources at the bottom. You can make a note on the source, notes on impacted groups, and notes on technical details. Those are all going to go into your project. You will see. Finally, you're going to create your one-pager. We're probably not going to get to that today. We're going to start working on this. You can keep working on it for homework, and we are going to have about 15 minutes at the start of Monday's class to finish this up. But after 15 minutes, we're going to go into presenting these. So you need to be done by then. Don't forget to check the rubric as you work to make sure that you're covering all the topics that are going to get you points. Okay, that's a great rule for any paper. Double check the rubric. Make sure you're including everything that's going to get you points. Okay, first, we're going to choose our dilemma. Second, we are going to review our one-pager assignment and rubric on our own. You're going to review the concept bank before reading the articles so that you know what to look for in terms of concepts. Highlight those concepts, make a note of them in those boxes. Review your 3 online sources. Those are, Review your 3 online sources. Those are the ones at the bottom of your category. Take notes on instances when their impacted groups are mentioned or technical details that are explained. Start writing your one-pager and finish as homework. Okay? Hang on, I'm going to do something scary. I am going to get out of here again. I just wanted to show you, oh, here it is. So this is the teacher version. This is what your final, hang on, I'm not presenting, am I? This is what your final is supposed to look like. There will be a core question at the top. When and how should internet service providers be allowed to treat some kinds of internet traffic differently than others? You're going to list the impacted groups here on the left. You're going to say, what are the interests, benefits, and harms of this policy dilemma to those people? Underneath that, technical background. Visiting a website actually means a company like Netflix sends you data. This data travels over the network of wires and cables that ISPs build and maintain. Big pieces of data. So you want as many of those technical nitty-gritty DNS ISP details in here. And then you're going to have a recommended solution. You're going to have your policy. I want total net neutrality. What are the benefits of total net neutrality? What are what are the pros? What are the cons? Who does it help and who does it harm? That's it. Okay. That's what your final piece is going to look like. Okay. So first thing you're doing, you got 3 minutes to figure out which item you want to be working on. Okay. Okay, does everyone have a feeling for what they want to be working on?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've reviewed your one pager and rubric. You've decided on, you've chosen your dilemma. So now I want you to look at the one pager and the rubric, review the concept bank before reading the article so you know what to look for. And then start looking in your 3 online sources and take notes on instances where the impacted groups are mentioned or technical details. You saw how those are going to fit into your thing. You need 3 impacted groups for each one for your sheet. Would it help to go over this sheet? Do you want to look at the one pager first and just have me go? Okay, so then we're going to have the rest of class to be able to work on this. Okay, and then you're going to work on it as homework. Okay, so I've read this top piece. You guys are going to be looking at the core question, your sheets. Here are your impacted groups. That's very easy. And then you need to be looking at these sources that are linked. Review the one pager in the rubric. Here's the concept bank. This is where you can make notes from your article. And if you want to look at other places on the internet, that is fine. So the core question, copy and paste this directly from the dilemma above. That's easy. Impacted groups, fill in the table with your impacted groups. It looks like they give you impacted groups, but you could also, if there's somebody else you'd like to use, that's fine. You may optionally add new groups or split one of the ones assigned into smaller groups if it will help you explain who's involved in the dilemma. Impacted group and description. So group 1, write the name of the group, provide. So basically, you are going to be replacing all this italic text. You are going to highlight it, and then you're going to write your group 1 is whatever, provide a brief description, examples of who they are, can be bullets. Same thing for group 2. Then you're going to explain the interests of this group as well as ways that they could benefit or be harmed because of the dilemma. Okay, it's the same thing for each one. Technical background, explain the technical background necessary. This is where you're using your words from the concept bank, right? Every single thing you can think of related to your dilemma. Did you see how in mine, it's talking about net neutrality. So they're talking about how signals travel through the internet, because that is what is being overwhelmed by people like Netflix, who have so much signal. So you write those technical backgrounds. These can be bullets. Then you recommend a policy solution. Give a recommendation for what policy or solution your candidates should advocate. Your solution could be a law that should be passed or repealed, a government policy, a technical solution your candidate should promote. So here, your recommended policy, in at most 2 sentences, summarize the solution / action your candidate should support. Pros, who benefits, can be bullets. Cons, who is harmed, can be bullets. So you want at least 2 or 3 benefits and pros and cons. Who is going to be helped by this? Who is going to be harmed? It's a dilemma. So there should be adequate resources to say a couple positive things and a couple negative things about this. All right? So something that I could do in theory is put people in individual breakout rooms so I could come in and help you. Let's see if people need help. Maybe I'll put them into a breakout room so that we're not bothering the rest of everyone. Okay? So now you have 13 minutes to just work on this, start developing your ideas, and then the final piece of this is going to be to just write in the chat, what are the things you need to do to finish your one-pager presentation? Because that has to be finished within the first 15 minutes of Monday's class, because then we're going to present them. Okay? So you have 15 minutes to work now. you can continue as homework over the weekend. And then on Monday, we will have 15 minutes to finish up, but then you will need to present your findings. I'll keep an eye on the chat if people have questions. If someone wants to go into a private room, I can arrange for that too. Someone is asking if they have to get a fourth source, something new other than what is provided. Technically, no. You can work with just the sources that are provided, but you are also free to look up anything or find other sources that you feel will be a help. As it says, you can break some of the suggested things down into smaller groups. Do what makes sense for you to create the best platform you can. All you're going to be doing is replacing those italics on the one pager with your words, what you found. Okay, with 2 minutes left, we will re-emphasize, check your rubric. The last thing for today is what do you need to do to complete the assignment? Answer me privately in the chat. So just try and think of what,
Does that include the doing the sources? The review your sources, step 4.
yes, you're supposed to be
Okay.
reviewing your sources, whatever you still need to do. All this is really, it's more to get this straight in your mind. Since we only have 15 minutes in class next week to finish this up, I want to make sure that everyone, if they have a little extra work they need to do before that, they get that done over the weekend. Okay? So it's mostly finishing up notes, finishing up reviewing sources. Does everyone feel that this is doable? Does everyone feel that they get the idea of how to present this? I know everyone wants to see my fabulous answer sheet again, but I'm not going to. Like I say, just follow, just follow those steps. The core question in theory is up here. Core question. You're just going to copy that into the top of your document. Core question right there. Impacted groups. Lo and behold, they list impacted groups. So those guys would go group 1, group 2, group 3. You can find better impacted groups, more interesting impacted groups, please do. Then you're going to explain what is helping them and what is harming them. What are their interests? How does this help that interest? How does it harm that interest? Okay? These can be bullets, just short little bits. Then the technical background is probably going to be one of the trickier places. You're trying to describe how your dilemma is influenced by the internet, by the physical internet. So use as many of those words in the bank as you can. Then you need to create your policy statement. Who does that help and who is it going to harm? All right, we're done. Class is over. It is lunchtime. I will stop sharing. Great day. I think this is pretty cool. I mean, it just seems very real world, particularly with the elections.
Thank you.
So much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Hi, team.
Bye.
Thank you.
No worries. Let me know if you have questions. Get any outstanding work in.
I just got like on the note taking.
Sure.
So there's like several boxes, right? And it's like each source, it should have like on impacted groups and then notes on like technical details.
Right.
What do you mean exactly by like technical details?
Well, do you remember when I read out my fabulous example that I won't show you again?
Yeah.
Here. So I'm not sharing anymore. I can go back into this and read it for you. So the technical details are that word bank, trying to use as many of those words, World Wide Web, ISPs, TCP, all those things. So the answer that I gave is looking at net neutrality. So it's saying visiting a website actually means a company like Netflix sends you data across the wires. This data travels over a network of wires and cables that ISPs build and maintain. Big pieces of data like movies are split into smaller pieces called packets and sent to your computers. Packets include the numbers, blah, blah, blah. It's describing the whole process of information streaming across the internet in as much detail, using as many of those words as possible, because that's the core of this issue.
So the article that I was looking at, it didn't have like any direct notes on technical details, but it's talking about like how people are like limited with their Wi-Fi ban and like with school and everything. So can I like build that into the technical details and say like how that goes into it?
Absolutely. That's exactly what you should be. anything that's in there, that's all you're, like you say, all these articles may not have good technical details. Maybe one does, but you want to put anything that you could put in that technical details thing in there, so that when you need to write that up, you can look and go, oh, okay, I've got a couple things in this one, couple things here. How am I going to put that all together? You're just trying, it's again, you're forcing yourself to try and put as many of these words in your description as possible. This is not necessarily the way that you would normally do it, but it's trying to make sure that you understand how all these pieces fit together. So the more you can describe how the internet works and how all these pieces play a role in it, that tells me that you understand the last 7 lessons that we've done.
Okay.
That's the overarching idea. By forcing you to talk about as many of these technical issues as possible, it makes it so that you need to understand it to be able to express it, but that I can also see that you got these concepts. Because that's sort of like our prep test. There are a lot of concepts and things in this chapter. So it's a lot of checking your understanding. Did that make sense to you? Are you thinking about that correctly? Like a crazy one for me, I got very confused between the amount of numbers that one byte, of decimal numbers that a byte can represent versus the amount of numbers. Well, it's the like 255 versus 256.
Yeah.
That that a byte can only represent up to 255 in the decimal numbering system. It can't represent 256 because it has a 0 at the start. But if you ask how many how many colors can a byte represent, it is 256 because 000 is a color.
Mhm.
So it's that idea that just trying to cement these ideas properly in your mind.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you.
thanks so much for hanging out and asking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a great day.